This will be the 7th grade review for shapes just in general. First thing I want to do is I want to take a look at the star reference sheet that you guys will get on the star test. You have a couple different sections that you're going to need for this page. At the very beginning, we're going to be looking at all of the shapes that we've talked about before in grades past and whatever else. I know we've done circles several times. There's the formula that we've been using, but we are going to review just a couple of basic things. Stuff as simple as base times height to get the area of a rectangle, and then also area of triangles, which I know can be confusing. It's that 1/2 base times the height. And then we're also going to take a look at the trapezoid formula, just because you guys won't have to do this one too often, but I want you to be familiar with it just in case. And then right at the very end, we also have to go back to doing circumference of circles. So we're going to start off pretty basic. We're just going to do area of rectangles. And just in case you forgot, area of a rectangle, here's our part in our formula chart, and then we are just doing base times the height. So on these, just doing base times height. So on this one, we'll do 3.7. There's our base. Here's our height. And we're just going to multiply these two numbers. So just to make it really clear, here's our formula. Area equals base times height. And we're going to do area equals 3.7 times 6. We're going to multiply these out. And we get an area of 22.2 feet squared. So most of the rectangles are going to be pretty much the exact same setup, so I'm not going to waste too much time on that. These other ones that we're going to be doing parallelograms, which are actually the exact same formula. So if you look over here on the star chart, rectangle, and then we've got parallelogram. So we're still doing base times height. So I'm going to take a look at number 5 for you guys. So here's our formula. Area equals base times height. But what I've got to make really clear, guys, is every time we talk about a height, we are going to be looking at the thing that has the 90-degree angle. Our base and our height have to be 90 degrees away from each other at all times. So on this one, here's our base, and then here is our height. Because if they gave me the side length here, I could not use that, because that right there is not going to be a 90-degree angle. That's why we have to use that 0.8. So our area, that's a really lousy looking A, is going to be base at 3 miles times that 0.8 for the height. We're going to multiply these, and we get an area of 2.4 miles squared. I'm going to let you tackle the rest of those parallelograms on your own, but taking a look at number 8, they do give us some of that extra information. Keep in mind, whenever you're doing this one, base times height, so same formula, but your base and your height have to be 90 degrees from one another. So we'll use this for our height and this for our base. That 1.5 is just extra information. We don't actually need to have that. So again, this is the base and this is the height. That's going to be similar on our triangles. Whenever we're talking about triangles, we have this formula right here. We use 1/2 base times height. But what I recommend is, we've talked about this before, we're going to do it as base times height, but divided by 2. This is the same thing. If you want to multiply by 0.5 or multiply by 1/2, that also works, but base times height divided by 2, I think, is a lot more straightforward. So that's the formula that we are going to stick with. So taking a look at number 9, our area formula, we are going to use base times height divided by 2. So this one's pretty straightforward. Here's our base, and here's our height. So when I plug into my formula, we are going to have a base of 7 miles times our height of 4.2, and then we will divide. So I'm going to go across the top first. So I'm going to do 7 times 4.2. We get 29.4 over 2. Now we divide that by 2, and this comes out to 14.7 miles squared. I forgot to mention it, but it is important. Again, we are using this 90-degree angle. If they gave me any of these other sides right here, we would not use them. Our base and our height have to be 90 degrees from one another. So I'm going to let you guys tackle those others on your own, but I will point out let's take a look at number 13. For our base and our height on this one, we'll use the same formula. Area equals base times height divided by 2. Our base and our height, you've got to look at where that 90-degree angle is. So they have it right here. These two numbers that are attached to that 90-degree angle have to be our base and our height. So what I'd recommend doing is, if you need to, just turn the figure on your page a different direction. So I'm going to make a copy paste of this, bring this over here. This triangle would probably make more sense if you guys saw it like this, where that 5.7 is actually sitting on its base. So that would make that our base and this our height. So whenever you're filling it out, the base is going to be that 5.7 times the height of 2.4 divided by 2. I'm going to let you guys finish that part up on your own. Now we're going to take a look at the parallelograms. Not parallelograms, trapezoids. This is our weird trapezoid formula that we've got to use for this section. My recommendation is, again, I don't really like the way that 1/2 is. What I would rather us do is I would rather do our base 1 plus our base 2. We are going to add those and divide by 2. Then whatever we get here, we multiply that times our height. Pretty much what we're doing is we are taking the average of those two bases. We're adding the two bases we have and dividing by 2. Then we multiply by the height. So therefore, it's still kind of base times height. So number 17, I'm going to write the formula out real quick. Base 1 plus base 2. We're going to divide that by 2. And then we're going to multiply by the height. So that's our formula. Here are our bases, and I know these are bases because here's our 90-degree angle. That is forcing this 7 feet to be our height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take base 1, and I'm going to take base 2. I'm going to add these two together. So we have 7.9 plus 2.3, and we're going to divide that by 2. And when we get finished with that, we have to multiply it by our height of 7 feet. So we're going to do 7.9. I'm going to add that to my 2.3. I have 10.2. We'll still have to divide that by 2 and then multiply by 7. 10.2 divided by 2 is going to be 5.1. We still have to multiply that by 7. And when I multiply that by 7, I get 35.7 feet squared. So just one more time, I'm going to go through the parts of this. This base 1 right here is this number right here, because that's our base that's attached to the 90-degree angle. Base 2 is our number down here on the bottom, because the bases are parallel to each other. The divided by 2 is just part of the formula. And our height is our height right there. That's 7.8. We didn't even have to mess with that. I know these are tough, so I want to make sure I do at least one more with you. So we're going to take a look at number 20. So same thing. We are going to be using the formula base 1 plus base 2. We divide those two, or find the average of them, and we multiply by the height. That's supposed to be an H. Let me rewrite that. So again, here's our 90-degree angle. So I know this right here is going to be the height. So I'm going to go ahead and sub that out. Sorry, I'm just going to write H. H equals that. We have our bases. So here's base 1. Here's base 2. What I'm going to be doing is I've got to add these up first. I'm going to do 2.9 plus our 0.9. And we divide those two by 2. When we're finished, we multiply by 1. So I'm going to do my 2.9. I'm going to add my 0.9. And we have 3.8 divided by 2 times our height. Whenever we divide 3.8 by 2, we get 1.9. Oops, 1.9 times 1, which is just 1.9 meters squared. Final answer on that part. If you have questions on those guys, please make sure that you're coming to ask me because I want to help you out on that part. The other trapezoids are going to be on your own, but for these final four, make sure that you know that you are finding the area and the circumference on both of these. So area of circle is still that pi r squared. When we get done, we are going to use pi times diameter to find the circumference. So I'm just going to do one of these with you guys. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at, we'll just do number 23. Keep in mind that on 23 and 24, you have a radius. On 25 and 26, you have a diameter. If you are still struggling with the difference between radius and diameter, make sure that you come talk to me about it because we are going to kind of keep moving in class, but if you're falling behind, I want to help you out in tutorials. So on number 23, formula that we're going to use for area is A equals pi r squared. On this one, we already have a radius, so we are going to do 3.14 times that 11 squared. And keep in mind, squares are just the thing times itself. So it's actually 11 times 11, which is 121. So we're going to do 3.14 times 121. And when we multiply those two, we get 379.94. And that will be miles squared. That's our area for this part. Now we've got to find the circumference. Our formula for circumference is pi times the diameter. Well, our diameter is all the way across. So our diameter would be 22 miles. So all we're going to do in this part is 3.14 times the 20, I already forgot what it was, 22, left my mind. When we do 22 times 3.14, we get 69.08 miles. So these are the two answers that we're supposed to have on this one here. And I don't mind you guys using calculator in this part because these are a lot of rough decimals. When it comes time for our decimal work, we'll try those without calculators. If you guys have any questions for me, please make sure that you come and ask.